If you're over 60, I want you to imagine this. You finish a light, healthy dinner, feeling proud of your choices. Maybe a little salad, some grilled fish, and a glass of water. You go to bed thinking, I'm doing everything right. But by morning, your brain could be at risk. No chest pain, no warning signs, just a sudden slurred word, a weak arm, or that strange dizzy spell that feels like it came out of nowhere. And here's what shocks most seniors when I tell them. It's not from fried food or fast food. It's from a vegetable. Yes, a vegetable that for decades you've been told is one of the healthiest things you can put on your plate. I've seen it too many times in my years of working with older adults. The very foods that helped keep you strong at 40 can quietly backfire at 70, especially when combined with common medications or eaten at the wrong time of day. And the scariest part, you might not feel a thing until it's too late. But here's the good news. You don't need to fear vegetables. You don't need to cut them out. What you do need is awareness, understanding how your aging body processes food differently so you can keep enjoying meals safely, wisely, and in a way that protects your brain and independence. So in today's video on Health 365 Day, we're uncovering 9 common vegetables that can quietly raise your stroke risk if you're over 60, and more importantly, how to eat them in a safer, smarter way. And I'll tell you this, the last vegetable on this list is one almost every senior eats weekly, and it may be the most dangerous of all. Before we dive in, let me know in the comments, where are you tuning in from today? I love seeing our Health 365 Day family growing all over the world. And if you're new here, make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss a senior health tip that could truly change your life. Now, let's start with the vegetable most people think is their best friend, but after 60, it can quietly become a hidden enemy to your brain. Vegetable number 1, spinach, the two-faced friend of your brain for decades. Spinach has been praised as the ultimate supergreen. Doctors, dietitians, even cartoon characters have told us it builds strength, boosts iron, and keeps us young. And yes, spinach is full of magnesium, fiber, and antioxidants that support your heart and bones. But here's the surprising truth. After 60, spinach can shift from friend to foe if you are not careful about when and how you eat it. Here's why. Spinach is naturally rich in oxalates, compounds that bind tightly to calcium in your body. In younger adults, the kidneys flush those oxalates out pretty easily. But as we age, kidney function slows, blood vessels stiffen, and many seniors start taking calcium and vitamin D supplements for bone health. Now imagine all that mixing together. Calcium supplements, aging kidneys, and oxalate-rich spinach. It's the perfect recipe for trouble. The oxalates in spinach can combine with calcium to form tiny crystals, calcium oxalate, that travel through your bloodstream. You won't feel it at first, but over months or years, those crystals can harden and narrow the small vessels that feed your brain. Think of it like grains of sand, slowly clogging a narrow pipe. Blood flow drops, oxygen levels fall, and one small clot can be all it takes to block circulation entirely, triggering a silent stroke overnight. That's exactly what happened to one of my patients, Harold Briner, a 76-year-old retired firefighter from Milwaukee. Harold was proud of his health habits. Every evening, he made a spinach salad with feta cheese and took his calcium and vitamin D supplements, a routine he swore by for strong bones. But one winter morning, Harold's wife found him slumped at the kitchen table, coffee spilled, words slurred. He had suffered a stroke in his sleep. His scans showed narrowed, calcified arteries in the brain. Blood tests revealed high calcium and oxalate levels, the perfect storm that had been brewing for months. Harold survived, but he never drove again. He told me later, "Doc, I was just trying to eat healthy. I didn't know my salad could hurt me." That's the painful truth many older adults face. Not because spinach is bad, but because the body changes with age. What once healed can quietly harm if you don't adapt. Here's what you need to know. Timing matters. Eat spinach in the morning or at lunchtime, when your kidneys and digestion are most active. Talk to your doctor, especially if you're on calcium or vitamin D supplements, or have kidney or heart issues. Moderation, not elimination. A handful here and there is fine. It's the nightly routine that causes buildup. Spinach is still a nutrient powerhouse, but after 60, it comes with rules. Respect those rules, and spinach stays your ally. Ignore them, and it could become a silent enemy to your brain. Vegetable number 2, broccoli, heart helper, or hidden brain risk. Eat your broccoli. Most of us grew up hearing that at dinner, and for good reason. Broccoli is packed with fiber, antioxidants, and vitamins that support heart health. For decades, it's been the poster child of healthy eating. But here's what most seniors don't realize. After 60, broccoli can quietly become risky, not because of the vegetable itself, but because of how it interacts with the medications many older adults take daily. The key issue lies in vitamin K, which broccoli has in high amounts. Vitamin K helps your blood clot, which is good when you're young. But for seniors taking blood thinners like warfarin, Plavix, or even daily aspirin, too much vitamin K can throw your blood chemistry off balance. Here's how. If you suddenly eat a lot of broccoli while on blood thinners, your blood may clot too much, raising your stroke risk. If you eat very little one week and a lot the next, your medication becomes unpredictable. Your blood may swing between being too thick or too thin. And the scariest part, you won't feel it happening until it's too late. Let me tell you about Clara Newton, an 82-year-old retired schoolteacher from Pennsylvania. Clara was meticulous about her health. She took her blood thinners faithfully and ate steamed broccoli every night with olive oil, believing it kept her heart strong. But she didn't realize her daily broccoli was interfering with her medication. Her blood became unstable, sometimes too thin, sometimes too thick. One afternoon, after complaining of a mild headache, she collapsed. Doctors found she had suffered a hemorrhagic stroke, bleeding inside the brain, not from high blood pressure, but because her blood had become too thin to clot. Clara survived, but her speech slowed, and she now walks with a cane. She often tells others, don't assume healthy food is harmless, not at our age. Here's the lesson. Broccoli isn't the villain. The danger comes from inconsistency. If you're on blood thinners, don't cut broccoli out. Just eat it in consistent amounts. Talk openly with your doctor, so they can adjust your medication safely. As we age, our blood vessels become more fragile. A mild fluctuation that means nothing at 40 can have devastating consequences at 70. So yes, broccoli can stay in your diet. Just treat it with respect, through moderation, consistency, and communication with your healthcare provider. Vegetable number 3, romaine lettuce. Light and refreshing, but risky at night. For many seniors, a salad at dinner feels like the smartest choice. Light, low-calorie, and easy to digest. And romaine lettuce is often the star of that meal. Crisp, refreshing, and praised for its nutrients. But here's the truth. Most people over 60 never hear. Eating romaine late in the evening can quietly raise your risk of stroke by morning. Why? Because romaine acts as a natural diuretic, meaning it gently makes your body release water. For younger people, that's fine. But for older adults, especially those taking blood pressure pills, diuretics, or on low-sodium diets, this can be risky. Here's how it plays out. As we age, our thirst signals weaken. You may not feel dehydrated, but your blood volume drops, making it thicker, like syrup instead of water. Thicker blood moving through narrow arteries increases clot risk. Combine that with blood pressure medications, and it's the perfect setup for a stroke while you sleep. That's exactly what happened to Leon Carter, a 75-year-old retired factory worker from Indianapolis. Every night, Leon made himself a big romaine salad for dinner, skipping heavy meals, proud of his healthy habits. But one morning, his wife found him confused, his speech slurred, his right arm weak. He had suffered a mild stroke overnight. Doctors found signs of dehydration and thickened blood. His healthy nightly salad had quietly set the stage for danger. Leon recovered, but he told me later, I thought I was being healthy. I didn't know lettuce could do this. So here's what you can do. Shift your salad. Enjoy romaine at lunch. When you're active and hydrated, drink water with evening meals. Even half a glass helps keep your blood flowing smoothly. If you're on diuretics or blood pressure meds, ask your doctor about food interactions. Romaine lettuce isn't the problem. Timing is. Eaten at the right time of day, it's your friend. Eaten at night, it can quietly become your risk. Now, we've already talked about spinach, broccoli, and romaine. 3 healthy vegetables that can quietly work against you if you're over 60. But it doesn't stop there. The next few vegetables might be sitting in your kitchen right now. Ones you've cooked and enjoyed for years, yet under certain conditions they can thicken your blood, stiffen your arteries, and quietly raise your risk of stroke. Let's dive into the next 3, and trust me, by the end of this section, you'll look at your dinner plate with completely new eyes. Vegetable number 4. Beets are blood pressure hero with a hidden side when it comes to improving circulation. Beets are often celebrated. They're rich in nitrates, which the body converts into nitric oxide, a compound that helps relax blood vessels, improving blood flow and lowering blood pressure. Sounds great, right? But here's the catch. After 60, especially if you're already taking blood pressure medication, those same nitrates can sometimes drop your pressure too low. That sudden dip doesn't just make you dizzy, it can reduce blood flow to the brain, creating moments where the oxygen supply briefly cuts off, what doctors call transient ischemic attacks, or mini. Let me tell you about a man named Robert DeLuca, a 73-year-old retired postal worker from Florida. Robert loved juicing. Every morning, he'd blend fresh beets, celery, and carrots, a colorful, healthy routine. But one morning, after drinking his usual glass, he stood up and suddenly felt lightheaded. Moments later, he collapsed. At the hospital, doctors found that his blood pressure had plunged far below normal. The beet juice had combined with his hypertension medication, creating an overdose of good circulation. Robert was lucky, he didn't suffer a full stroke, but he did have a mild TIA, leaving him with short-term memory problems for weeks. That's when he learned, even healthy foods can push too far when your body's chemistry changes with age. Here's how to keep beets safe after 60. Limit juice intake. Stick to small servings, about half a cup of beet juice, no more than 3 times a week. Eat, don't drink. Whole beets digest slower, giving your body time to adjust. Check your meds. If you're taking nitrates or blood pressure drugs, talk to your doctor before adding beet juice to your diet. Beets aren't bad, they're powerful. But like all powerful tools, they need to be used wisely, especially when your cardiovascular system becomes more delicate with age. Vegetable number 5. Celery. The silent sodium trap. Celery is one of those vegetables that feels too innocent to be harmful. It's crisp, refreshing, and low in calories. Many seniors snack on it between meals or use it to manage weight. But here's something few people realize. Celery is naturally high in sodium. Not salt from the shaker, but the mineral sodium that can raise blood pressure in sensitive individuals. For a younger adult, this isn't much of a concern. But for someone over 60, especially those dealing with high blood pressure, kidney disease, or taking diuretics, that extra sodium can quietly tighten your arteries and increase fluid retention. And when that happens, your heart has to work harder to pump blood, which can push blood pressure dangerously high, a leading trigger for strokes. One of my former patients, Evelyn Harris, 78, learned this the hard way. She was on medication for high blood pressure and prided herself on eating healthy. Every afternoon, she'd enjoy celery sticks with a bit of hummus, a guilt-free snack, she said, but after several months, her blood pressure started creeping up, even though she hadn't added any salt to her meals. Her doctor was puzzled until they reviewed her diet. The culprit wasn't chips or canned soup. It was celery. That innocent snack was giving her nearly 400 milligrams of sodium a day. Not much by itself, but enough to keep her blood pressure unstable. Evelyn switched to cucumber slices and bell pepper strips, and within 2 weeks, her readings improved. Here's what to remember. Celery is fine occasionally, but not as a daily staple if you're managing high blood pressure. Mix it up. Alternate with low-sodium veggies like cucumbers or zucchini. Watch your fluids. If you're on a diuretic, celery can amplify the effects, dehydrating you and thickening your blood. So yes, celery can fit into a healthy diet. Just don't let it sneak up on you. Too much of a good thing can quietly become a daily dose of pressure on your arteries. Vegetable number 6. Cabbage, gut healer or blood pressure hazard. Cabbage has long been a favorite in senior diets. It's great for digestion, helps with inflammation, and supports healthy gut bacteria. But there's a twist. Depending on how it's prepared, cabbage can either protect your brain or harm it. The problem isn't the fresh vegetable. It's when it's fermented or salted. I'm talking about sauerkraut and pickled cabbage, common sides in many homes. Yes, they're tasty. Yes, they support gut health. But they're also loaded with sodium, sometimes more than an entire bag of chips. And here's where it gets dangerous. High sodium intake increases the amount of fluid in your blood vessels. That raises pressure inside fragile arteries, particularly those in your brain. For someone over 60, even a mild, steady increase in blood pressure can slowly damage vessel walls, making them prone to rupture or clot. Let me share the story of Margaret Lynn, a 74-year-old from California. She ate pickled cabbage nearly every day, something she'd done since childhood. "It's part of my culture," she said proudly. But one night, after a salty dinner and little water, she woke up with pounding in her head and blurred vision. At the hospital, her blood pressure was 210/120, a hypertensive crisis. Doctors told her that her high-sodium diet had overwhelmed her blood vessels. Fortunately, Margaret didn't suffer a stroke that night, but she came dangerously close. Since then, she switched to lightly steamed cabbage with olive oil and lemon, and her readings returned to normal. Here's the safe way to enjoy cabbage after 60, fresh or steamed only. Avoid pickled or salted versions if you have blood pressure concerns. Rinse store-bought sauerkraut. Washing off the brine removes up to 40% of the sodium. Balance it out. Add potassium-rich foods like bananas or avocados to help counter sodium effects. Cabbage is powerful, but how you prepare it determines whether it strengthens or strains your brain and heart. At this point, you're probably starting to see the pattern. It's not about labeling foods as good or bad. It's about understanding how your aging body reacts differently, how hydration, timing, medication, and even preparation methods can transform a healthy meal into a hidden risk. But we're not done yet. Because the last three vegetables, the ones we'll cover next, are by far the most common in every senior's diet. They look innocent, they taste familiar, and they might even be on your dinner table tonight. Yet, together, they cause more circulation problems, thicker blood, and silent strokes than almost any other vegetable group. And the final one, number 9, is the most shocking of all. Alright, if you've been following along, you now understand how spinach, broccoli, romaine, beets, celery, and cabbage, 6 of the world's healthiest vegetables, can turn risky after 60 if they're not eaten the right way. And I know what you might be thinking, so what's left to eat? Dr. Mark, am I supposed to avoid everything? Absolutely not. Food should never become your enemy. What I want for you, what every doctor should want, is awareness. Once you understand how your body changes with age, you can make simple adjustments that keep your blood flowing freely, your brain sharp, and your energy steady. Now let's look at the last 3 vegetables that can quietly raise your stroke risk, and what you can do instead to stay safe and strong for years to come. Vegetable number 7. Tomatoes, the hidden salt and acid combo if you love pasta, soups, or salads. Chances are you eat tomatoes almost daily, and for good reason. Tomatoes are rich in lycopene, an antioxidant known to protect the heart and reduce inflammation. But there's a quiet trap here, especially for older adults taking certain medications or dealing with acid reflux, high blood pressure, or circulation problems. You see, most seniors don't eat fresh tomatoes as often as they eat tomato-based products, sauces, soups, or juices. These are often loaded with added sodium and citric acid, a dangerous combo for aging arteries. Let's break it down. The acid in tomatoes can irritate the lining of the stomach and esophagus, especially in people taking aspirin or blood thinners. This can lead to tiny internal bleeds, which thicken the blood and make clots more likely. The sodium in canned or jarred tomato products causes water retention, increases blood pressure, and puts strain on small blood vessels in the brain. And the result? Increased clotting risk, a silent pathway toward stroke. That's what happened to Helen Dawson, a 79-year-old widow from Oregon. She loved making homemade soups, often with canned tomatoes and broth cubes. She thought she was eating healthy, but over time, her blood pressure crept higher and her doctor couldn't explain why. When we reviewed her diet, we found she was consuming nearly 2,500 milligrams of sodium a day, much of it hidden in tomato-based products. She switched to using fresh tomatoes, herbs, and a squeeze of lemon for flavor, and within 3 weeks, her blood pressure dropped by 15 points. So here's your takeaway. Use fresh tomatoes when possible. Slice them raw into salads, or roast them gently in olive oil. Check labels. If the sodium per serving is over 140 milligrams, look for a low sodium or no salted version. Avoid eating tomato-heavy meals at night. The acid can cause reflux when you lie down, raising blood pressure temporarily. Tomatoes themselves aren't the villain. It's what's added to them, and when you eat them that makes the difference. Vegetable number 8. Potatoes. Comfort food that can clog the brain. Potatoes are a staple in almost every home. Mashed, roasted, baked, or fried, and in moderation, they're fine. They give you potassium and energy. But when you cross 60, the way your body processes starch changes dramatically. Here's what I mean. Potatoes are one of the highest glycemic vegetables, meaning they cause your blood sugar to spike quickly. After 60, your insulin response slows down, so that sugar lingers in your bloodstream longer. When sugar stays high, it inflames your arteries, stiffens their walls, and damages the cells that keep blood flowing smoothly. Over time, those small injuries attract cholesterol and calcium, narrowing the passages that feed your brain. The result? Reduced blood flow and a higher risk of both ischemic and hemorrhagic strokes. And the danger is worse when potatoes are fried. Think French fries, hash browns, or chips. The combination of starch, oil, and salt becomes a triple threat to circulation. Let me share a quick story. John Miller, 68, from Ohio, was a lifelong potato lover. He'd say, "If there's no potato, it's not a meal." But after years of nightly servings, sometimes mashed with butter, sometimes fried, his triglycerides skyrocketed, and his arteries hardened. He suffered a small stroke while gardening, completely out of the blue. After recovery, he switched to small portions of baked sweet potatoes, added olive oil instead of butter, and cut down on portion size. Within a few months, his energy improved, and his blood tests normalized. So, here's the golden rule for potatoes after 60. Limit portion size. Half a cup per meal is enough. Avoid frying. Try baking, boiling, or steaming instead. Add greens or lean protein to slow down sugar absorption. Potatoes aren't poison, but they are a comfort trap. Eat them smartly, and your brain will thank you. Vegetable number 9. Corn. The most surprising culprit of all this. One surprises almost everyone. Corn, that sweet, golden, harmless-looking vegetable, may be the single most overlooked risk factor for stroke among older adults. Why? Because corn is not a simple vegetable anymore. Most corn products today, even canned or frozen, have been genetically modified, stripped of fiber, and processed with added sugars and preservatives. But even natural corn has a few issues as we age. It's high in starch, which means it spikes blood sugar, just like potatoes. It's low in magnesium and fiber, both of which help prevent blood clots. And it's often eaten with salt and butter, which increase blood pressure and inflammation. When you combine all that with slower digestion and reduced insulin sensitivity in seniors, corn becomes a blood-thickening, artery-narrowing food in disguise. Dr. Mark Turner explains it like this. Think of your bloodstream like a river. When you're young, it flows fast and clear. But after